Hello and welcome. I'm Patrick Curtis, Chief Monkey of Wall Street Oasis, and this is Monkey to Millions, a show where you get a front row seat as I mentor young students and professionals to try and help them break into their dream jobs. In the first cohort, you'll meet 4 students, all preparing for intense job interviews while trying to also balance a personal life and schoolwork. The goal of this show is to shine a light on the struggles of trying to break into competitive positions with a non-traditional background and to give you a roadmap for your own success. My hope is that as you get to know these 4 impressive students, you are inspired to dream big. Remember, these are real people and this is their true story. Let's get to it. In Grace's second session, we go over some solid networking leads she's established by being active on campus, while I encourage her to do more outreach outside her school ecosystem to build a solid foundation for internship recruiting next year. We discuss goals and tools on how she can build up more contacts efficiently while still balancing schoolwork. But first, hear from Grace over the previous few weeks leading up to this session.
Hello. So this past week, I sent out a first batch of emails. I already had one phone call with someone, and I have a few others set up in the next few weeks, as well as one in-person meeting with someone from Chicago who will be coming to actually speak at Fordham in a few weeks to the graduate school, so I'll be able to meet him in person while he's here in the city for that. I also applied and was given a spot at a conference that the Women's Association of Venture and Equity is having in the city in early November. So when that comes, that'll be a great networking opportunity. I'll get to meet a lot of women in the field through that. I went to a panel that the Investment Banking Club here had about venture capital. So I got to meet a few guys who work in the venture and growth equity space here in the city, some of which are alumni of Fordham. And per your recommendation, I updated my LinkedIn, adding more finance-related interests in the interest section. And then for this week, I already have a big batch of emails that I'll send out tomorrow morning, and hopefully we'll get some good responses from those. Hello. So I have a very busy week this week between meetings with professors and other students, as well as some in-person meetings and phone calls with people that I've been reaching out to over email the past few weeks, as well as just some other events, school events going on. So seems like every minute of my next few days is completely scheduled, but it should be good. And then last week, I started working with the president of the Investment Banking Club here, and he has a spreadsheet of about 500 to 600 Fordham alumni who work at the major banks. So I'm helping him update it with where people have moved from firms the past few years. And so that'll definitely be a great resource when I'm looking for people to reach out to, having all of that in one place. So overall, should be a very productive week. Hello. So this past week, I had several phone calls and meetings with people that I've reached out to, several of which were actually very helpful. One person in particular who offered to get me into a small group private dinner that is happening after one of his colleagues gives a talk at Fordham in a few weeks. So that would be a very good opportunity, as well as he also offered to refer me to an opportunity at his firm, a summer opportunity that he only opens to Fordham students, and he explained how the role would include actual evaluation work. It sounds like a great opportunity, so I'm following up with him on possibly applying for that. And then tomorrow I am going to the Chartered Alternative Investment Analyst Association blockchain conference. So the Alternative Investments Club here is sending a few students to help out setting up beforehand, and then there will be several speakers and then a networking part at the end with many people from private equity and venture capital there. So that'll be a great opportunity to meet some people. And then I'm also working on getting into a Gabelli networking social event happening later this week that it sounds like is only for the graduate MBA students, but in a response to an email I'd sent out to a Fordham alum. He had asked if we could meet there. So I'm working with the administration here to possibly be able to get into that event. So hopefully that works out and I could be able to meet a lot of people there too.
So you had the updates, and basically it sounds like you're getting a lot of great traction, meeting a lot of new people.
Yes.
So that's awesome. How are classes going?
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Making
You're
my way through.
you're like hanging in there in terms of like grades and stuff.
Oh yeah, my grades are fine right now.
You think close to a 3.8, 4.0 kind of
I
situation,
think so.
because I know you did really well in high school. I know the transition can be tough sometimes. And just want to make sure, at least for me, when I jumped to college, I got like a 3.0 my first semester, and it was like I had to climb out of that. And it was just one class that really kind of can throw you off. So it was like a pre-med bio class, and it like totally, I worked harder in that class than all the other classes combined, and I still got a C. So that can happen with the weed out pre-med classes. But so just be careful with the, just the GPA, just keep that up, because I think you're doing a lot of things right. And based on like your updates, you're getting into like conferences, you're talking to a lot of people. Tell me a little bit more about that dinner that you're being invited to for like Fordham students.
Oh, the one that I mentioned in the most recent video?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Did you go to that? Is that already happened or?
No, so it's in another week or two.
Okay.
And I've actually been having trouble following up with the guy about it because I think he's pretty bad about email. So
Is he older?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Old people tend to be bad with technology.
like he was very, very genuine when he was talking to me, so I know he really wanted to help. So
why did he extend that to you just specially because you kind of made an effort to talk with him?
Yes, I think he was impressed that I was already reaching out to him. So and then just like through our conversation. So
do you feel like you're getting more comfortable with that stuff? Like
I think so.
It's hard as a freshman. I remember I was like, it's just a maturity thing and a comfort thing. Like you're obviously very mature for a freshman, but you're still really young, so it's hard to like feel comfortable talking to somebody who's super old or like my age even. So so it's good you're making that effort. You're just going to get better and better and better every time. It's going to make you actually better at interviews too. So we're kind of coming into the holidays. Tell me a little bit about like in terms of the plans. Like are you networking a lot in terms of like on LinkedIn still? Have you had any time for that? Like
so I've been doing more email. Most of what I send over LinkedIn, like I'm on the free month for premium right now.
Yep.
And most of the messages I send though, I don't get responses from, probably just because they're not seen. It's harder for them to see them, or if they get an email notification, it's just something they automatically delete kind of.
Are you reaching out to alum?
It's mostly been alum, and I've probably been getting that like 50% response.
That's really good, actually. So 50% response. So is your number of connections, are they growing? I see 140. I see 141. Where were we before?
About 80.
So that's great. You've almost doubled the number of connections that you had since we started. So like, do not stop that, please. I know you feel like 50%. That's actually really, really good. The 50% response rate. Are you just saying, hey, I think you sent it to me, right? Hey, I'm a freshman over at da-da-da. I think just keep doing that. If people connect with you, how are you tracking that? I know you said you're doing some is it all like connections and then messages?
What do you mean?
Like, so are you doing connection requests with that little message in it? Or are you doing like using LinkedIn Premium to send like in-mails?
I've mostly been doing in-mails just because when you send the note with the connection request, it's a really small limit. I think it's like 300 characters. So it's difficult to fit a message into that small.
So, but how many email? Don't you only have like 10 in-mails per month?
Yeah, so I think it's because I was on a different premium and then I like upgraded to do the other premium. So I got a total of like 20 in-mail, I think. Credits. So I'm just
you
on
got
right now.
You got 10 additional connections from that approximately.
I don't know if I'd say that. I maybe got like 2 or 3 responses over LinkedIn, but most of what I've been getting is through email.
And how are you getting these emails? Just through the alumni network, something, and the school gives them to you?
Or like if I have someone's name and then just using the email format for the
Okay. So I think it would really serve you well to even to start doing the connection requests at a
Okay.
higher scale, with a shorter version of that thing, because I want you to hit 500 connections very fast.
Mm-hmm.
And it's silly, but building that network and that connection now will allow you to send messages directly without needing emails
Mm-hmm. Right.
later. So like and then the beauty of it is if they're connections with you, they're like, oh, I guess I connected with her before at some point for some reason. And it's much easier. You can get their email off of LinkedIn
Right.
after that. So like even if they're not checking you can always, there's ways to grab all the emails from the profiles that you're
Mm-hmm.
connected to. Um, there's stuff called like Linked Helper, which kind of automates that,
Okay.
um, where you can buy in some software that helps you kind of get all those into one spreadsheet,
Okay.
which can be super, super helpful for like
Mm-hmm.
when you want to send an update of like, hey, I landed summer into, let's say you get this internship at that place that you may be doing valuation work at. It would be amazing if you could email a short 2-line update to everybody in your network.
Mm-hmm.
Just be
Okay.
like, hey, just give you an update. It's been a little while since we spoke. Da, 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 da.
Mm-hmm.
Or broke it up in terms of like alum versus this versus that, and you could bucket
Mm-hmm.
it. But getting from 141 up to 500 before you're done with freshman year, I think should be a goal of
Mm-hmm.
yours, because
Okay.
it's not hard to send a connection request, and if
Right.
they're alums, it's a very easy ask. And then
Mm-hmm.
even if they're not alums, if you could find any other connection, maybe they're from Maryland, or maybe they, whatever, they may be from your high school. Maybe they're from your high school. You could check those people.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they're just in New York. Maybe it's like women in finance type
Mm-hmm.
alums. Because aren't you part of a women in finance group there?
I'm not technically, but
Women
I've
in business.
I've reached out to a few people from a group called Wall Street Women's Alliance, and I've gotten some responses through that.
So yeah, like I would absolutely just leverage that and
Mm-hmm.
connect with as many people as you can. But so do you think, I mean, that doesn't take long, right? That you could literally be on LinkedIn for one day, 8 hours,
Mm-hmm.
let's say 4 hours on a Saturday morning, 4 hours on a Sunday morning, and you could probably send out 200 connection requests,
Mm-hmm. Okay.
like literally 100 each day. And you would now be connected to you send out 200, you probably get like 80 to 70 new connections just
Okay.
from that. And so it sounds like, oh, that's not a great return, but you just increased your connections by like 40% or 30%. Now, the
Right.
key is, what do you do with those connections? So I think it's important that you don't have to be reaching out very frequently, but you reach out when you have an exciting thing to
Mm-hmm.
report. And then they get used to like hearing from you every 4 to 6 months of like, oh, I've done this and things are going great at Forum. I'd love to, hop on the phone. We haven't had a chance to meet in person. It'd be
Mm-hmm.
great to grab coffee. I'm in the city. I can come down to where you are, and, giving them the options of when you're actually free to do that, when you're not in
Mm-hmm.
class, I think is going to be a great use of your time.
Mm-hmm.
Like
So
an
when I'm
amazing.
sending those initial requests, and
Yes.
what am I asking in that initial request?
Hey, it'd be great to be connected with you. I saw that you went to Fordham. Maybe we could connect. Maybe we could chat at some point in the future, whenever's best for you. And
Okay.
so we can go over that. We'll just chat back and forth on Skype after this. But maybe
Okay.
it's something. Maybe I'll just do it right now, actually. So you can say, "Hi, name. Hi, name. I'm a freshman at Fordham, um, studying, what is it? Business,
Um, yeah, global business and finance.
business and finance. Um, I saw that you are alum and work in, say, IB.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'd love to be connected. Love to be connected. So we maybe chat at some point that is mutually convenient. Something like that.
Okay.
Disregards. And fix the spelling. I can't spell right now, but you get the idea.
Uh-huh. Right.
Grace. I almost signed it Patrick. Don't do that. something that short.
Okay.
I think that I spelled freshman wrong, but I think that would be long enough. And if you have to cut something, you could just say, I'm a freshman at Fordham. You can remove the studying. I say you're an alum and work, and I'd love to be connected so we can maybe chat at some point that's mutually convenient or at some point in the future. Best regards. That's it.
Okay.
Short and sweet. And that's just going to just open it from 100 and whatever you are at 140. I think you're going to quickly get to, and it doesn't have to be, if it's not a Fordham person, say I'm a freshman in New York, or I'm working, if it's like you're working if you're doing like the female angle, like the woman in Wall Street, maybe you can say I'm a member of the women business at Fordham, something that's somewhat relevant to what I saw you're a member of women's I'd love to be connected so we could chat maybe at some point in the future.
Okay.
There's something very low key, and most people are just going to accept that and blindly not even think about it. But then the beauty is you can get their email and then put them into that reminder cycle that we talked about. So do you have Write Inbox? I think we talked about that.
I downloaded it and
Awesome.
I was using it for the reminders, and then I think I ran out of like credits or whatever on it, so it wouldn't let me do it beyond 10 emails, I think.
I would pay for it.
Okay.
I would get it just because once you start this, it's going to be super worth it. You'll have set reminders at like 3 months, 6 months, 12 months.
Okay.
So the initial time you reach out to people, actually you can have it be like 1 week, 3 weeks, 3 months, 6 months, 12 months. It can be like your default settings where you write an email initially. So like you do these connection requests. You grab so once it's up to like 500, I would tell you, okay, scrape them all, get all the emails off. This sounds crazy, but it's like other people are doing this, and it's kind of like a hack in order to help you just scale it efficiently, right? You do have to put in the initial effort to actually reach out. You could reach out to up to 100. You can do 100 connection requests a day before LinkedIn's like, hey, slow down.
Right. Okay.
Stop it. So that's 700 new connection requests a day. So it's not that hard, especially if you do a filter. Like anybody who's a Fordham alum who works in finance, like you should absolutely be reaching out to them. But it doesn't have to just be IB. It could be IB. It could be corporate finance, corporate development. It could be management consulting. You should be talking to all these people because maybe you're like, you think you want IB now, but who knows? Maybe you're like, hey, consulting seems more cool now or more interesting to me. So I think going back to this, what I'll call a hack, developing all those connection requests, I can show you the program that allows you to grab all the profiles and the emails off of there. Once you have those emails, you can start like a reminder cycle. So you'll wait till you have a time when you have something good to announce, like you landed at your summer freshman internship, or you you are starting back and you did something kind of noteworthy. And you basically, or initially, you could just send out an initial email when they connect with you, to keep things kind of staggered. So it's not, you want to email 500 people at once, be like, let's meet. Because then what if like 50 of them are like, sure, you're like, ah. So you do want to stagger it a little bit, but that's why Write Inbox will help you do that. So if you basically, let's say we wait till you get to, let's say just 300, you get all these 300 emails. I wouldn't tell you to blast 300 people. I'd tell you, let's blast 20 every week.
Right.
Or 30 every week. And then what you're going to do is you'll send an email to 30. One will get back to you or none will get back to you. You'll have, and all of those emails, you set reminder 1 week. A week later, it'd be like, hey, just checking in to see if you saw that. It'd really be great to chat. And so we'll have a template for every single, that first outreach, the second outreach, and the third outreach. After you reach out the third time, if they haven't responded, you can let that sit for 6 months. So then you'll see, because it'll pop it back in your inbox. It'll be like, okay, I reached out this date. I followed up 1 week. I followed up 7 weeks. They still haven't reached out to me. I don't want to be like crazy and keep going. So I'm going to hit reminder 6 months. And then in 6 months, you're going to reach out to them and give again. Because you'll be surprised if it may take you till sophomore year, like end of sophomore year. Some of the people you're reaching out to now, that if you are consistently following up with them and you reached out, you're not like crazy where you're doing it every single week, but you do the initial outreach, 2 emails, then you wait 6 months, you send another email, you wait, and then there you don't do 2 again. You wait another 6 months, you do another email, you do another 6 months, you do another email. Now you're like, okay, she's super persistent. Like maybe I need to talk to this girl. Like maybe there's something like, and one of them, they may just say, please stop. You say, no problem, right? But like you're doing it in a kind way, you're doing it in a professional way, you're not hitting their inbox every day.
Mm-hmm.
If you do that across several hundred people, you're going to be getting into a ton, you're going to be having a ton of meetings. You're going to be learning a lot about different industries firsthand from people, and you're going to learn a ton. You can learn a lot just browsing and reading the forums on Wall Street Oasis, but having the one-on-one connect, face-to-face, you're learning, plus you're developing a much stronger relationship. So like when the interview comes, for example, that dinner you had or whatever, or that meeting you had, that conference where the guy's like, hey, come to this dinner, or the guy telling you about that internship, that's because you went out and you put yourself out there. That wouldn't have happened, right? Otherwise. So keep doing that, but I think leverage the technology that's out there to get you to scale it at a much bigger level. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and it'll be probably a lot more efficient in the long run than what I'm doing now. So
a lot more efficient. Like you can get in front of, you can go to however many conferences, but think of how many hours you're spending at that conference. Think of how many people you could have reached out to on LinkedIn. But so you still have to put in the time for the coffee chat. It's not like, but that coffee chat, it's something you created out of nothing. That coffee chat is a person you didn't even know. It's an alum that graduated 10 years ago that has no connection to you. So while it's good to do what everyone else is doing on campus and the events and all that stuff, you really need to pave your own path in terms of the networking, not just lean on what Fordham gives you. Because the more people you're connected to, the more people you develop a relationship with and that know you going into this sophomore recruiting and junior recruiting, the higher your odds are that you land the type of internship you want to land. They're going to put you in the right track. It's so crazy that it's this early that like we have to talk about this freshman year. But you get it. Like you're a hard worker. You did really well in high school, so like I don't think you're afraid of it, right? Are your class, as the number of hours you're putting in for school, prohibiting you from doing more on the networking side, or do you feel like you're able to handle it, or it's just like you're trying to actually have some fun in your life instead of just like always working, being the top of your class? Because I get it. Like when I went to college, like I wanted to have fun too. So is it something where you have like how many, I guess the question is how many hours do you have to dedicate to this stuff?
I mean, the past 3 weeks since our first call, I guess I've been putting in, including like actual phone calls and meetings, I've probably been putting in about like 9 hours a week. And that's been manageable. That's been a good number. I don't think I can go too far above that.
Yeah, that's fair. And so you're putting in about probably like, well, you're in class probably like 15 hours a week.
Something like that, yeah.
Like 2 or 3 hours, like 3 hours a day, probably on average. And then you're doing like 2 hours a day, an hour or two of networking or reach out, or whatever. And then you're doing, I'm thinking about it. Yeah, I mean, it's just really where you're focusing your time. Because I think keep doing the higher impact stuff in terms of like the network where you feel like you can get out, like the conference is like a conference that's good. I don't know if the blockchain thing will be great.
Oh yeah, that was just like a short thing. That wasn't that much time. But I met like a couple people through that.
Cool. No, yeah, I mean, it doesn't hurt. I think it's good actually to practice face to face. I mean, the whole goal of this LinkedIn outreach and all that stuff is just to get face to face with somebody, or to at least do a phone call. But I think when you can, since you're in the city, the more kind of, I mean, ideally you start having like two coffee chats a day on like Saturdays and Sundays. And like you can show up early to the coffee shop and like literally just be on LinkedIn doing more outreach while you're waiting for them. Because
I've been suggesting weekends too for everyone that I've reached out to, but no one has
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. It's tough because a lot of them will either have family if they're older, or they don't necessarily want to do like a work related thing. Although alum may be a little more open to it. I'm surprised no one's taking you up on it. But yeah, any questions on kind of what's been going on?
I don't think so.
Okay. Do you feel like our next session, or at some point, I do want to do kind of some mock interviews with you and hear your spiel and all of that. And I don't want it to go too long where we don't do that, because I feel like even though you're a freshman and your answers don't have to be super like polished or anything like that, I think the earlier you can get that polish and talk about your experiences and be ready for like, especially the fit portion of the interviews,
Mm-hmm.
like not the super technical accounting, but the fit portion of why this industry, why this, tell me a little bit about yourself, tell me about a time. It's super hard because you've only had so much experience, but you did a lot in high school.
Mm-hmm.
You can draw from those.
Right.
Are you able to get involved in any stuff on campus right now in terms of like leadership?
Not leadership really, but
But are you
there's
able to join
actually,
clubs and stuff that are
yeah,
relevant?
I've joined a lot of clubs, and there's a diversity and inclusion board that's
Uh-huh.
starting up. So I'm at the Lincoln Center campus, which is
Yep.
smaller,
Okay.
but they're starting up one the end of this year into next year. So I've kind of gotten involved in that, so I can be one of the main people that starts that up. So that's
Oh, that's great. And
mhm.
then any like business or finance clubs there?
Yeah, I'm in the investment banking club here.
Okay.
Um, and then I'm also in the Smart Women Securities group up at the Bronx campus.
Okay. And then do you think that's spreading yourself too thin, or do you think that's okay? Those three? I think that's
And those are the only. I'm also in the finance club too at the Bronx campus.
okay. Yeah,
And
it's a lot.
mhm. I mean, I can't go to a lot of the events they or meetings they have up on the Bronx campus just because of when I have class here. But
Yeah.
there's like the conference I'm going to this Friday. I was able to get into through one of those
Do that.
clubs.
Okay, cool. So that's helpful. That's super helpful. Yeah, just try to leverage all of those. Um, yeah, if you're not, it's actually not a bad thing if you're not, if you can't go to those meetings,
Hmm.
because I think your time's going to be, instead of networking with other students as much, which is good, and it's good to do. I think you're going to, ideally, you're networking with professionals who are already in where you want to go to. Um, yeah, I'm trying to think anything else like specifically around the networking. So does that sound fair, like in terms of a goal, like just really scaling your connection requests instead of
No,
just leveraging on
yeah.
the. Okay, so let's focus on that for this month and just really try to like if you can shock me when I open your LinkedIn profile and I see 500 plus connections, that would be awesome.
Hmm.
Um, because then I think we can do a lot in terms of getting that cycle going and getting some sort of kind of email chains going.
Okay.
And you have your own personal like Gmail account, right? So you can just do it.
Hmm. I've been doing it through my school email, but I can do either.
Oh, is it Gmail? Does your school email come in through Gmail too?
Yes. Hmm.
Yeah, I think better to do it through your own personal Gmail, just because when you do graduate, just having those connections, eventually they make you
We keep our
transfer.
emails, so
You
that's
do?
been a good way I can reach out to alumni too. Is
Yeah.
they all still have their Fordham emails.
Oh, that's awesome.
Hmm.
Okay, so you keep it. Okay, so yeah, if you can keep it, then for sure, it's definitely good. I mean, the question is if you want to brand yourself under Fordham forever.
Right.
But maybe that's not a bad thing if your real thing. And tell me about the alumni at Fordham. Are there a lot in banking?
Yes. Or it's been really recent, so most of them are really young.
Mhm.
But I think it's Goldman and I want to say BlackRock's another big one
Right.
that has had a lot of people recently.
So BlackRock is more like asset management typically though, right? So are they doing
Yeah.
like so it's the more like investment management, asset management type
Mhm.
of jobs, or is it like banking, like M&A, mergers and acquisitions?
I think it's more of the asset management side, but I haven't talked to many people from
What
there.
about people at Goldman? Do you know?
There it's more spread out. It's a lot of asset management. There's a good number in banking. There's
So like
also a few in merchant banking.
so that's my only concern with only with focusing heavily on Fordham alum is
Hmm.
that you may be limiting yourself to those specific divisions.
Hmm.
And I think you can reach higher than that.
Hmm.
And I think you can do better because number one, you have me to push you. And number two, it's all about like just who you know early enough and you know early in your college career. And so like anybody watching this, if they're freshmen or they're seniors in high school and they start this process of building their connections,
Hmm.
uh, there's no reason why you can't get into an M&A role at a Credit Suisse, at a Bulge Bracket, at a Houlihan, at a Lazard, or whatever it happens to be. You just have to know the right people
Hmm.
and know what, because they're not going to necessarily be on campus. So is there any campus recruiting that's coming specifically at Fordham? No.
I know there is for sophomores, and it's something that like I know Goldman does something for sophomores, but you have to be invited by the school to go.
Who
It's
determines
so
that?
hmm?
Who determines that?
One of the people, or a small group in the like career development center up at Rose Hill, and I've already met with them. So,
And do they like you?
mhm.
You hope so.
Yes.
Cool. Okay. Okay. Good.
And I think because I'm in the honors program, I automatically am invited to that anyway.
Okay. Very
It's what
cool.
they made it sound like.
But do you know if that Goldman program is like for asset management type roles?
I don't know if what specifically it is.
Yeah.
I just
See,
know it's.
that's the thing is like, don't get enamored with the name.
Hmm.
You're going to be much better off going to a middle market, a strong middle market
Hmm.
investment bank, developing the valuation and the modeling skills and getting that skill set of doing actual transactions versus like all of a sudden you're in a sales and trading role or an asset management role and
Hmm.
you're doing more base level stuff that's not where it's not pushing you to grow
Hmm.
as much. You'd learn about like portfolio theory and all this other stuff, which is interesting. But if you don't want to go in that direction, if you actually want to do transaction work, and eventually go to the buy side,
Hmm.
potentially private equity, hedge funds, going into asset management, you're done. That's it.
Right.
Like
Hmm.
it's not done. I mean, that is technically the buy side,
Hmm.
but it's sell side. It's
Hmm.
on sell side of the buy. So it's like you're managing clients' money, but you're not doing the actual transactions. You're not
Hmm.
buying companies. Um, so yeah, just let's that just hearing that makes me nervous
Hmm.
that your outreach is it's the easiest to go the Fordham route, but
Hmm.
it's not necessarily the highest impact for you and for
Hmm.
your career. So I'm like thinking maybe there's something where half of your outreach is non-Fordham
Hmm.
on LinkedIn, where you maybe reach out to just women in finance and high like associates at banks
Hmm.
and managing directors and analysts even. Just
Hmm.
try to meet the analysts for coffee because then if you hit it off with one of them and you guys become good friends and like you're
Hmm.
able to update her, then they'll be like, oh, I'm going to get you in. I want you to come work with us.
Hmm.
And that can be enough. That can be enough. So let's not lean too heavily on Fordham
Hmm.
because I
I
think
mean,
what
there's
you'll,
a lot that I haven't explored yet either, so I've
yeah.
only looked a little.
What do you mean in terms of explore? Like for
Or
Fordham?
like what's just looking what like who's out there, I guess.
Got it. Okay, that's fair. Yeah, I'm sure there are some bankers
Hmm.
and stuff like that, but I get the sense that it probably is a lot of asset management. I think Fordham's been doing really well and growing a lot more in terms of like their placements, and
Hmm.
that I mean Goldman actually shows up on campus, right? So
Hmm.
that's a good sign. It's just a question of like don't let the names of who's on campus
Hmm.
um change your perception of the types of jobs that are being offered to the alum
Hmm.
school because it can be Goldman, Morgan Stanley, Evercore, all the top names, but they could be only recruiting for back office, middle office
Hmm.
positions.
Hmm.
Uh,
I mean, there's a lot of recent alumni at Goldman I know from the past 3 years
yep.
working in the investment banking area.
Okay, so that's great. So that's new. That's new.
Hmm.
That's awesome. So I'd focus a lot of your effort there if that's where you want to go, and I would point you to go there because I think the exit opportunities and everything are
Hmm.
unparalleled there versus going into like a sales and trading, which is really struggling, an area that's
Right.
struggling.
Hmm.
Um, So yeah, we don't have to do a super long session today. I think yeah, I think just continue to build that network, really focus on that. I think you're doing a great job with getting yourself out there. I just want to see a little bit more and I'll cover the expense on the write-in box for you. It's fine if that's like an issue. So just because I think that's going to really help you.
Hmm.
So just like use it, like just get
Hmm.
that cycle and get into the habit of doing that every week. Uh,
Okay.
so like once you build up those connections, I think our next session will be on, okay, let's actually template out what we're going to say in each of these cycles and the gaps in between each. And you
Hmm.
can literally have a sheet that's just like, okay, this is what I'm going to do for all these connections, and then
Hmm.
kind of go from there. And then ideally, by doing that, starting early next year, you're meeting with a ton of people. And
Hmm.
I
Okay.
don't know how many people you could do. I mean, if you're doing 10 hours a week, you said 8 to 9 hours. Let's say you scale it up to 10.
Hmm.
10 hours a week, a good balance would be like 3 or 4 hours building new connections and 3 to 4 hours like actually just meeting with people, sitting
Hmm.
down, meeting like with 4 or 5 people a week.
Okay.
That would be amazing.
Hmm.
If you could keep that cadence going, imagine by like the end of your freshman year even, you could have met with what is that like 30 people,
Mm-hmm.
more. And that would
Right.
be really powerful, really
Mm-hmm.
powerful, face to face. So, um, anyways, I think that's it for now. I mean, maybe what do you think about like your interview skills? Like, have you had any chance to look through the courses at all?
Very slightly, but not
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
detail.
I think it's not a super high priority for you because I don't think anybody putting you through an interview is going to drill you on technical
Mm-hmm.
questions yet. Um, I think it might make sense for us to go over your like behavioral and fit questions
Mm-hmm.
and your responses with that. Do
Okay.
you have you done um because polishing those are going to help you on the coffee chats a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So when you start like early in 2020, when you start actually getting some of these meetings, we
Mm-hmm.
want to make sure you're not kind of rambling on tangents and like doing
Mm-hmm.
this stuff. We want to make sure like your story is really buttoned down and
Mm-hmm.
you have like actual you have actual examples you can pull from your past.
Mm-hmm.
Like so are there like you've already done that, right?
I mean, I've kind of done that already in like the coffee chats I've had the past few weeks, and then I've done
Do you
a
have
few
notes?
interviews
Do you
before.
have notes on that? Do you have notes on like how you like your answers to different types of questions? Like tell me your challenges, your greatest weaknesses. Do you have notes on that?
Not those types of questions, more ones that would come up in a conversation naturally, though, like in the coffee chats, like why are you interested in finance,
So
those
can
kind of
you
things.
create so one other assignment besides
Mm-hmm.
the connections? I want you to create a Google Doc and share it with me.
Mm-hmm.
And I want you to put there why finance at the top.
Mm-hmm.
And I want you to put kind of what you say. It can be bullets. It doesn't have to be like word for word.
Okay.
Bullets. And then I want you to do why IB. Then I want you to do greatest weaknesses, greatest strengths. And then I'm going to push you to have an example under each that you can pull from your past or from your
Mm-hmm.
from that's going to do that. And then I'm going to add things in there that are the most common into that doc, and I'm going to have you do bullets. So
Okay.
that way, let's say you're at a coffee chat. It's very common. Sometimes those can turn into an actual real interview,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't want to be sitting there like he's like, tell me a time where you struggled with with authority. Tell me about a time when you there was conflict in a group.
Mm-hmm.
How did you deal with that? You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
you just don't want to be caught flat-footed if all of a sudden like imagine he or she has a good impression of you and they're
Mm-hmm.
like, well, let's see how you do in like this type of interview. They may like forget that you're a freshman because maybe you're polished and da da da, and then all of a sudden they start throwing these like fit
Mm-hmm.
questions at you and you're like, oh, I can't think of one now, but I'll get back to you. It's better if you're just ready.
Mm-hmm.
Really. So create that document. You can call it like Grace's fit or something like that. I don't know what you want to call it. Just something
Okay.
fit for coffee chats, and
Mm-hmm.
that'll be a document we can build off of for interviews when they start happening.
Okay.
Does that work?
Yes.
Because I
Mm-hmm.
think that'll really help you because it's in your head, but
Mm-hmm.
seeing it, me seeing it in bullet form actually helped me kind of be like, oh, you shouldn't say that, or you should elaborate more on that.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Okay.
and it might be something on the next session where we can actually go through it and you say,
Mm-hmm.
hey, why finance? Da, 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 da. I'll be like, I think that's really good or that's really strong. And that one, let's modify a little bit. Does that sound good?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay,
That's good.
cool. I think that'll be I think all this stuff you're laying like the foundation of what I see kind of coming up into your sophomore year.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if you can get anything with valuation work, if you should not let that go, that lead.
Mm-hmm. And
Like
then mhm.
keep emailing that guy. So tell me how many times you've emailed him now. Twice.
I messaged him on LinkedIn, then I've emailed him twice.
So you had his email and his LinkedIn. You messaged him once on LinkedIn.
Because
And
I originally reached out to him over email, and then like to set up the meeting,
yeah.
and then after that, I've been emailing him, but he hasn't.
So how did you have his email?
I just kind of I had his name, and then I found like company's email.
Got it. Okay. So like, yeah, the email format. And so you're
Mm-hmm.
sure it's getting through to him.
So the first time I emailed him the night of like after I met him, and then he didn't open that email until 5 days later,
Yeah.
and then so I sent a follow up 2 days after that, and he still hasn't opened that one.
So he's just
So
super busy. So it has nothing to do with him trying to blow you off. So it's like, just
mhm,
don't give up
right,
with that one, but definitely let it sit for 2 weeks
okay,
or 3 weeks potentially. After well, let me see. You followed up. he read your email. 2 days later, you sent a
Or
follow-up.
5 days after I sent it. And
Right. And he still hasn't even read that one that was a week later. So you've sent two.
Mhm.
So I would wait 3 weeks from when you sent that second follow-up.
Okay.
So probably another week or two
Okay.
before you do another one, and make it literally one line.
Okay.
And what's the goal here?
Well, so he had mentioned the person who's speaking at Fordham and the private dinner afterwards, as well as the internship.
Oh, shoot. When is that? When's that dinner? Do you know the date?
November 11th, I think.
Oh, so you can't wait 3 weeks.
But I'm actually meeting. So it's the speaker who's coming is coming through the Smart Women Securities group, and I'm meeting with the president of that this week. So I think I could talk to her and ask her if she knows anything about it. And
Yeah, you can say, well, he had mentioned that I should come.
mm-hmm.
So I was hoping you could give me some more information on that. I know he's super busy.
Mm-hmm.
And try to just get the information and
Yeah.
show up. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Just get the info of where, when, and like, just so you can be there. Because
Mm-hmm.
just showing your face would be huge there. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's the guy who said, like, maybe there's an internship opportunity.
He said he only offers it to Fordham students.
How many? If any?
Um, I think so, but he said he's not the one who runs the application process because he doesn't want to be involved in it. So it's someone else that he works with who actually, I guess, goes through the applicants.
And tell me, is this a bank or what is this place?
I think it's kind of like private equity. I don't completely understand what else they do, but I think it's a
Okay.
mix of things.
Do you want to shoot me the link?
It's called Varde Partners.
Let me look at it up now. Barday. Here it is. Alternative investment advisor with roots in credit and distressed. Interesting. Unlocking value, our business, investment strategies. So they're running money. The question is what type of funds? Corporate trading credit. So it's not banking. It's more like they're running. It's privately held entirely by partners of the firm, our team. So you met with.
I met with Brendan Albee.
Brendan. Anyways, whatever. He's somewhere in here. It's a big team. So they're doing what's interesting in credit and distress. So they're investing in like some pretty hairy situations and probably trying to unlock value. Basically, they're looking at like potential bankruptcies and where bonds may be undervalued. They may be shorting things or loan to own type opportunities. Corporate and sovereign credit, restructurings, real estate, mortgages, private equity, and direct lending. Invested more than 60 billion since its founding. More than 300 professionals. So it's a big, yeah. They've managed over 14 billion. Yeah, I mean that would be really cool if you get in.
And then also someone that I met. So I was, like I said in the video, I was able to talk to a few people and get into the Fordham's MBA school alumni networking event last week.
Great.
And so I met a lot of the MBA students there, and one of them works for First Republic Bank, and
Yep.
she had mentioned, I think she does lending, like private equity, lending to private equity, and she had mentioned that they hire interns as well, and that I could follow.
Yeah, reach out with her and be like, hey, am making me an intro? That'd be great. Sounds really interesting. Freshman summer, any of these would be unbelievable.
Okay.
Anything relevant with finance valuation experience is really going to set you up. So like, don't let go of those little leads that you have. Like,
yeah, I followed up with her. I'm waiting to hear back.
And follow up again next week. Okay, because like these people are busy. It doesn't, it doesn't necessarily mean that they don't like you if they ignore you. It's just sometimes they're in their. I mean, especially the MBA students, they're probably stressed about recruiting.
Right.
They get onto campus like September, and by this time, typically the internship, I think the offers are like out by now for the summer. So if she doesn't have
she's a part-time student, so she's working and taking classes.
She's working there at First Republic.
Yeah, she works there now as well as
huge.
being an MBA student.
That's huge. That's a better outcome because she's already there. She could just pass your resume directly.
Right.
Okay, that's two great leads. That's two great, and that happened through Fordham's stuff.
Yes.
So maybe you should keep doing that. Maybe I'm wrong.
I met a lot of great people at the networking event, so it's
Yeah, and you're getting business cards there.
Yes.
Do you
And
hand
LinkedIn.
do you give them anything?
No, I didn't have anything. I mean, I connected with all of them on LinkedIn. So.
Yeah, I think that's fine. Some people say you should have a business card. I think it's kind of silly as a student, to be
Hmm.
honest, to have a business card. I think more important is that um, you establish that connection on LinkedIn. So like, what am I? Do you have the things that are face to face? I think it would be really helpful for you long term
Hmm.
to actually create a spreadsheet. Do you have that?
Oh, yes. Hmm.
And so when you meet these people face to face and you collect their card and you send an email, are you putting that in the sheet?
What do you like their contact
Yeah,
information?
their contact
Oh,
information.
yeah, I have an Excel with all the people I've talked to and like the
And you
last date I spoke with them and
do you have any notes on there?
yes.
So like, do they have kids?
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah, I put little things like that that
okay,
are important to remote, like no.
okay,
Hmm.
perfect. And then, so the beauty of that is you're actually like building the face-to-face connections. I think that sheet should be for the people who like you've actually either done a call with or met with face-to-face.
Yes. Hmm.
So the beauty of that is like those are two super strong leads already, right? So with Varde and with First Republic
Hmm.
for a freshman summer internship. Now imagine if you could scale that
Hmm.
and have 10 super strong leads or 15 super strong leads. And so that's what I want you to get to, because a lot of people will talk and very few people will follow through and help you
Hmm.
actually land the internship.
Hmm.
And like for freshman summer, it's going to be very much like, oh yeah, she seems great. Okay, fine, bring her
Uh-huh.
in. And if you miss that little window that they have where like that week they decide, hey, okay, we're going to bring in some interns now, that could be it. And they're sorry, it's full now.
Mhm.
And so my hope is that um, there's probably a lot more Vardes and First Republics out there that
Mhm.
are happening soon. So my hope is that like you can scale up that outreach,
Mhm.
um, not I know you have grades and to keep up and all that other stuff, but that you focus really heavily in these last couple months of the year to try and build up a few more strong leads. 'Cause
Okay.
ideally, you land Varde or First Republic, but
Mhm.
it's definitely not a sure thing when people always mention things in passing.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? If you can get a warm intro from that MBA student
Mhm.
still working there to whomever is running the program,
Mhm.
internship program, that's huge.
Okay.
Um, and then yeah, you may if you have any sort of interviews coming up beforehand, and that's another reason why I think getting that sheet done of your why,
Mhm.
Grace's why, I think very important to actually do that soon because
Mhm.
you may be in an interview before you even realize.
Uh-huh. Well, I applied for a Goldman's like women's program in the
Uh-huh.
spring, and I have a higher view to do for that this week. So.
Yay! Awesome. Well, higher view, do you feel okay about that?
Hmm.
Excited?
It says the duration it says is 5 minutes, so I think it's just one question, but or two questions.
Do you
So.
know what they're going to ask you?
No, I looked up what last year's were, so I don't know if they'll be the same. But
Actually recorded yourself besides these chats with me? Have you actually recorded
um,
yourself?
I
This
want to
is this
say
is
I have
actually going to
once
help your
before.
higher view a lot, by the way. This practice. Um, One thing I'll say, smile a lot because
Hmm.
there's a lot of algorithm stuff going on.
Right.
So smile, real smile, like try to actually not just be like, like this, like,
Hmm.
the cheeks,
Yeah.
because it picks up on that stuff. It's kind of freaky that a computer's tracking all that, but, make sure you're smiling, you're
Hmm.
pausing. Um, and if when is that next week?
Or it's this. I have to do it by the end of this week.
Friday?
Hmm.
Do you want to do a practice run with me Thursday or Wednesday?
Hmm. Sure.
Fi-
I mean,
5 minutes.
okay.
And I'll just have some things that I'll be like, go, and I'll time you.
Hmm.
I think you should do that
Actually, would Wednesday be better?
Wednesday. Okay.
That's good.
Yeah, Wednesday should work. Let me look at my calendar. But I think you doing a dry run with like somebody like me watching you, which
Hmm.
is stressful, it's a really good practice run. It's
Okay.
something to do. So anyways, I'll send out some times for you on Wednesday. You send out some
Okay.
times to me that work, and we'll figure it out. But trying to think what else. Okay, so higher view, and what is that for? That women's program? What division is that for?
It It's not for a specific program. Like you could put it on the application, your areas of interest. So I wouldn't know yet which one I've been like accepted into.
Got it. But it's like but they allow freshmen to do it.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, it's so crazy right now. It's so nuts. Like you guys are like babies. Leave you alone.
I know some people who did it their freshman year and then got a sophomore summer internship through it, like some Fordham students.
They did it. They did the interviews freshman year,
Or they did the program freshman year and then made connections through that they were able to be just automatically invited back to the program sophomore year, and then they got a sophomore summer internship.
But is it? Let me ask you a question on that. Is it something where it's a full-on internship after this? This is for an actual real internship?
Yeah, so you're working with all the juniors as well. Okay. It's just the only sophomore interns are like the diversity ones.
But why are they letting you interview as a freshman then?
Well, I think it's just the program is not interview itself, but it can lead to one.
The program you're still in, but you're at the firm for 12 weeks?
You're at the firm, or no, the program is just like a few days in the spring.
Oh, it's one of those like come for a few days, but they still make you do a higher view for it. Okay, yeah, that's good to have, but that's not a. It's good to get yourself into the cycle. You should absolutely do it, and it's actually good practice. But it's not one of those like actual internships. Like you still would need a summer internship.
Oh yeah, I'm not saying it replaces that. I'm just saying for the connection it makes, I know it's very valuable. For sure.
Okay. Very good. Okay, so yeah, let's try to do something this week, just short and sweet. Like we'll call it the higher view mock.
Okay.
And try to get something on the calendar for Wednesday, because I feel like just a dry run. And if you can do some practices before that. If you know the format, if it's 5 minutes, if you know the format of like one question, just like be like, this is the prompt I'm giving, and record yourself. Maybe for the weekly update no, you need to do it before the end of this week. Okay, so maybe for, I don't know, you just do something and you can send it to me. It doesn't have to go up into the show or whatever. Just send it to me over Skype.
Okay.
What do you think? And and then it'll give me an idea of some stuff I can kind of give you feedback.
Okay. And do that before we talk on Wednesday.
Do that before we talk, because I want you to do one practice run there.
Okay.
And then one live as well.
Okay.
And 5 minutes, literally just 5 minutes.
Right.
Like, what interests you about financial services? That's probably what you're going to ask.
Yeah.
But I think that'll really help you. Okay?
Okay.
All right. Great. So, so let's stay in touch, and good luck with everything this week. And I'll send some times over right now for Wednesday, and then let's be in touch.
Okay, great. Sounds good.
Great. Bye.
Thank you.
Okay, bye. And thanks to you, my listeners at Wall Street Oasis. If you have any suggestions whatsoever, please don't hesitate to send them my way, Patrick at wallstreetoasis.com. Until next time.